Good afternoon, everybody. I don't know if it is now my my turn because unfortunately we had some problems today. So I guess so, or should I wait for Joanna to manage?
The floor is yours. You can start with your presentation. I've heard that you will share your presentation. Is this correct?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very
please,
much. So, in fact, so I will do it in a minute. I really hope that you can see it. It is in a PDF form because in fact it may be more stable like that. So I really hope that you can see actually the slide. So thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you very much, Professor Corvini, for in fact inviting me in this excellent workshop and event in general. And thank you for the opportunity to know you all and to know this idea of clustering RNI projects on bioremediation. My talk would in fact recap some of the different areas in the program supporting RNI with European funds where remediation and bioremediation are covered. I have included in the first slide the name of my colleague Thomas Kalikowski, who is from the same unit as I am, Circular Economy and Bio-Based Systems, in the DG Research and Innovation of the European Commission, Directorate Healthy Planet, as he's actually the policy officer for the projects BIOSYSMO, SYMBIOREM, NYMPHE, and MIBIREM. So just to let you know, both of us. So this slide, the second one, visualizes, as said, the different areas in the EU RNI programs that can contribute to supporting the RNI in bioremediation solutions. Basically, the framework program Horizon Europe with its cluster 6 intervention areas, being cluster 6, the cluster on food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. So it is naturally say covering the bioremediation. Then you see on the right side the missions under the same Horizon Europe, such as the one on a soil deal for Europe, and the second one, restore our oceans and waters. And finally, you see on the bottom, on the left bottom, the Circular Bio-Based Europe Joint Undertaking, which is a partnership between the Commission and the Bio-Based Industry Consortium worth 2 billion euros and running for a decade from 22 basically for a decade, and aiming at supporting the innovative bio-based solutions. So coming to the Horizon Europe Cluster 6, the first intervention area we may recall, say covering bioremediation and remediation in general, is intervention area 2, biodiversity and natural capital, where the overall goal and RNI broadlines are explained in the Horizon Europe specific program 2021-2027. And which was adopted by a council decision that you see on the slide. In particular, the intervention area is about, you see, understanding biodiversity and ecosystems and the multiple services they provide and the concept of planetary boundaries, as well as developing solutions harnessing nature's power and complexity and many other things. And one RNI broadline that you see in the box on the right is especially addressing adaptable and multifunctional nature-based solutions, addressing challenges in cities, rural and coastal areas related to climate change, natural disaster, biodiversity loss, ecosystem degradation, pollution, and citizens' health and well-being. In fact, under this intervention area, we find calls in the annual work programs like this one, a call for a research and innovation action on biodiversity, economics, and finance, unlocking the financial flows towards the reversing of biodiversity loss, aiming at, among other outcomes, to reorienting financial flows towards activities that benefit protection, restoration, and sustainable management and use of biodiversity and ecosystems. The call actually closed last March, but you may have seen it, I really hope. These are the slides that were presented in the info days last year, so we don't have, I think, the time to go through, and in any case, the call, in fact, is now closed. And the second call, again, for another research innovation action in 2024 on reintroducing of landscape features in intensive agricultural areas, which will be in fact presented sometime during the info days next September, 28, 29 September, that in fact can also say include in the scope bioremediation and remediation issues. The second intervention area is the intervention area number 6 on bio-based systems innovation, for which the overall goal is to enable the transition away from a fossil-based economy by encompassing the sustainable sourcing, industrial processing, and conversion of biomass from land and sea into bio-based materials, products, and processes, including from industrial biotechnologies and other things. And in the specific, say, R&I broad line, again, in the box on the right, addresses the use of biotechnology, among other things, for application in competitive, sustainable, and novel industrial processes, environmental services, and consumer products. So we are today, we are say, focusing on the environmental services. And in fact, you know very well, under this intervention area, we find calls in annual work programs, such as the call for a research and innovation action on environmental services, improved bioremediation and revitalization strategies for soil, sediments, and water, that you know very well, as it gave birth to the projects NYMPHE, SYMBIOREM, and BIOSYSMO. And again, these are the slides from the info days, and the call for innovation action on that funded the project MIBIREM. So these are MIBIREM. Oh no, I'm sorry. There is maybe a mistake on the slide. Anyway, so now we change scenario and we go to the missions. So the first one is the mission on restore our oceans, ocean and waters by 2030, with 3 objectives and corresponding 9 targets that we see here. Among which, in fact, there are specific marine natural restoration targets, including degraded seabeds and coastal ecosystems, which has led actually to the selection of work programs, like in here, you can see here, including innovation actions to prevent, minimize, and remediate chemical pollution, where projects remediation, which is responsive hub for long-term governance to distress the Mediterranean Sea for chemical pollution, and EMERMAID, innovative solution for Mediterranean ecosystems remediation via monitoring and contamination from chemical pollution, could then in fact be part of the excellent cluster presented today. And then the second mission, the mission on soil, a soil deal for Europe, has actually 8 specific objectives, including to reduce soil pollution and enhance restoration, which, yes, in fact, has led to include in the work program to 2022 a specific call for a research and innovation action on remediation strategies, methods, and financial models for the contamination and reuse of land in urban and rural areas. So the 3 projects funded under this call, Ragorn, Edafoss, and Iceland, could then be part again of the cluster if not already today in the room. And then, of course, there will be, and we are programming the next work program for the soil mission. So there will be a work program for the next year. And of course, you know that Horizon Europe will run again for a last 3 years, 25 up to 27. And we are nowadays discussing the strategic programming of Horizon Europe. And in fact, this will be more or less defined, the discussion within the first months of the next year. So the last, I would like to come to the last mechanisms to delivering funds to support research and innovation. The last mechanism of today, of course, which is, as said, the Circular Bio-Based Joint Undertaking. As said, it is a partnership between the European Commission and the Bio-Based Industry Consortium, BIC, providing 2 billion grants to projects advancing competitive circular bio-based industries in Europe. And the CB operates under the rules of Horizon Europe and for decades, as said, whereas the first work program actually was published in 2022, although the joint undertaking started the year before. And its activities are based on the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, which is a fundamental document setting the scope, the governing and advisory bodies, and the financial aspects, and also the delivery mechanisms of the joint undertaking, while delivering annual work programs with calls for grants. Already the work program 2022 was published, granting 120 million euro. And then the work program 2023, granting 215 million euro. And the 2024 work program indeed is under preparation and will have a similar budget as the previous one. So within the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, specific strategy priorities are set, among which one that you see in the box at the bottom. One to protect and enhance biodiversity and ecosystem services in bio-based feedstock supply systems, within which it was individuated R&I actions area on innovative bio-based solutions for monitoring and remediation of impacts on ecosystems. And in fact, thanks to this priority, the EU mission on soil has individuated good synergies with the joint undertaking. Here in these slides, they are described extensively with some common goals, such as the one stressed, highlighted, that is soil pollution restoration, and among other, of course, goals that are really very, very similar, very run in parallel with the joint undertaking. And also, the JU has confirmed this focus, publishing within the last work program a call for research and innovation action on phytomanagement, curing soil with industrial crops, utilizing contaminated and saline land for industrial crop production. That may be of your interest in the sense that, of course, the experts in the room today are possibly also able and interested in addressing this kind of topic specifically. The call deadline is in September, so in case you are interested, you are still on time to think about it. And to conclude, I would like also to present the fact that the annual work programs of the joint undertaking always include a part on the specific requirements that proposals must comply with, including on demonstrating that the provision of biomass for the bio-based industries contribute to the climate change mitigation, biodiversity protection, and zero pollution ambition and water resources protection. So respecting the main environmental objectives and of the EU policy, as in fact it is well explained in the annual work program itself, and of course not only the protection but also the enhancement of the biodiversity is one of the KPI of the joint undertaking. That means that remediation and bioremediation will be again for sure a focus for the next work programs. So with that, I conclude, and I thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much for the support for the technical problems that I unfortunately had today. Thank you.
Sylvia, for this very informative talk. Are there any questions? I think we have time. There is one question. Obviously not at the moment. Then thank you again, and I hope you join us during the rest of the workshop. Okay, so we come now to the presentations of the projects. We have 4 projects that are started and 3 projects that are finished already or more or less finished. And we start with the projects that are started, that are with the younger ones. And the first one is BIOSYSMO. It's presented by Lila Otero Gonzalez from Idena, Spain. And I hope I've on the screen, and I can.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Lila Otero. I'm product manager at ELECTRA, which is a company that works in computational science, and I'm also the
Microphone or volume.
We need a, you can take one of those black.
Can we take this together? Yeah.
But it's a working tool. It's a
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we don't need this.
So can you hear me now better? Yes. Okay, so I'm Lila Otero. I'm project manager at ELECTRA, and I'm the coordinator of the project BIOSYSMO. And in this project, what we aim to do is to exploit the synergies of bioremediation systems for improved removal of mixed contaminants. And as Thomas said, this is one of the recently started projects. So what I will do today is to give a short overview of the project. So our ambition is to make a significant impact in the development of innovative synergetic biosystems, optimizing the metabolic routes and symbiotic relationships within microbial communities and plant microsystems. At the same time, we want to advance in the application of computational tools for the design of these biosystems in bioremediation, also to help with the optimization of these interactions. Provide science-based knowledge on the interaction of the contaminants within the bioremediation systems, and validate the biosystems in new bioremediation technologies for the efficient treatment of mixed pollution. And within, as a transversal objective, we want to evaluate and improve the benefits in terms of environmental, economic, and social aspects of these technologies. For this, we have proposed the BIOSYSMO project, which is a 48-month project, which started last September. Is funded by the European Commission with a total budget of around 5.3 million and a European contribution of 5.9 million euros. We are 13 partners distributed within universities, research organizations, and small and large companies across eight countries in Europe. Within this context, the overall concept of BIOSYSMO can be divided in 4 blocks. In the first one, we are going to explain for microbial diversity from 2 points of view. The first point of view acknowledges that sites affected by pollution, either diffuse pollution or point source pollution, harbors a huge diversity of microbes that have adaptations to resist the contamination and also to be able to degrade the pollutants. And in the second point of view, we will use computational and data mining tools for search databases that already contain a lot of information regarding degradation of pollutants. In a second block, as I mentioned, we want to advance in using digital technologies and computational model-based methods to improve the design of the biosystems. The third block and the core of the project is specifically the design of the biosystems, which take advantage of metabolic interactions within microbial communities and plant microsystems, which then will be using different technologies, some more conventional ones and more new technologies. And finally, these technologies are applied to treatment of mixed contamination with focus in some classical contaminants, but not for that are less problematic, and also some micropollutants of emerging concern. And in different systems, which includes water, soil, and sediments. The first stepping stone of the project was the selection of some sites. For example, we selected up to 9 different sites across different areas in Europe. These sites include, as I mentioned, some sites with polluted soil, other sites with polluted groundwater, and also 2 estuarine areas that are affected by decreased pollution. The investigation in these sites is the starting point of the following work. We first characterize the sites in terms of physicochemical characteristics and microbial characteristics, and we also identify bottlenecks for analysis of pollutants that then will be also targeted within the project in order to make our methodologies robust and comparable between us. From the sites, we enrich and isolate novel microorganisms with for example, pollutant or metal-resistant capabilities, and also with pollutant degradation potential. And we are within this context, we are also using another microfluidic enrichment technique to enrich target communities of microorganisms. We will also develop a ecotoxicological toolset because we want to demonstrate that the bioremediation methods are detoxifying the pollution, including in vitro, in vivo, and in silico methodologies. In order to apply new computational techniques for the design of the biosystem, we started with using data mining methodologies to survey databases, and we are also constructing our own integrated cross-reference database, which includes data of the pollutant properties, pathways of biodegradation, and different enzymes, microorganisms, and genes that are linked with these pathways. Once we collect this information, we will classify and cluster the enzymes with a mission to improve the specificity, the substrate specificity prediction of the enzymes, and then using some model techniques. We will use this enzymatic information to search for additional resources that could be predicted to have also potential for symbiotic degradation. Then we will apply genome scale metabolic models to simulate the pathways of biodegradation. And with this, we want to provide more mechanistic information to the partners designing the biosystems in order to optimize the metabolic routes and the degradation of the pollutants. And finally, to assist with the implementation of the technologies, we will develop some process models, which also will be used for the process assessment and for replication of the technologies in different scenarios that are not considered in the project, but will also be could also benefit from our technologies. The design of the synergetic biosystems, which is the core of the project, includes different strategies. Some of the biosystems are based on plant-microbe interactions, and specifically, we have systems of pockets of endophytes that are targeting soil pollution. Some systems that include aquatic plants and plant growth promoting bacteria that are targeting water pollution, and plants from salt marsh estuarine areas that are inoculated with degradative microbes to target revitalization of estuarine areas. Some new genomic techniques are also applied both to popular engineering and to bacterial engineering to improve the degradation capabilities and also the interaction between the plants and the microbes. And finally, for constructing different artificial consortia, we are using novel techniques of microstructure artificial consortia, which will be used to construct electroactive biofilms to be used in electrochemical systems, or also as inoculants for plant microbe systems. Once the biosystems are designed and optimized, they will be used in different applications to fit soil, water, and sediments. After the test and validation in the lab, we want to transfer the most promising technologies to field studies. For that, we first will do a selection based on qualitative and quantitative KPIs. The selected technologies will be validated in field testing. But also, as I mentioned before, we want to develop process models that can be used to replicate our results into different scenarios. And finally, we have a multi-criteria assessment of our developments, which includes the environmental assessment using life cycle analysis methodologies, the cost assessment using also life cycle costing methodologies. We want to also prove the positive social impact, so we have included different social impact analysis and social life cycle analysis, and environmental risk assessment to improve the reduced risk of our technologies. And finally, we will also take into account the regulatory framework, specifically we have identified two critical points in our developments, which is the use of microorganisms in environmental applications. That is, it has some regulatory restrictions, and of course the use of new genomic techniques. And with this is, I think, the overview. Of course, we have started very recently, so We don't have yet many results to show, but I encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter, where we are very active in sharing our news.
Are there questions? One question. Some.
Okay, so it's a big challenge to remediate at the same time heavy metals, different. So I imagine that that will be removed by the plants, and the microbes help them in this which is the idea.
So yes, in systems where you have plants and microbes, plants usually well, not all plants, but some plants are able to uptake the metals, and the microbes can help in different ways. As you mentioned, they can be the responsible ones for biodegrade the organic pollutants, but they also can produce some metabolic intermediates that help the plant to maybe uptake more metals, for example, by improving the solubilization of the metals, or they can produce other compounds that the plant that can protect the health of the plant, for example, in the toxic impact of the metals, or even the toxic impact of other organic pollutants.
You consider also the possibility of using this kind of results for biomining, so also eventually recover metals and for bioremediation.
So the more important challenge with biomining is usually the value of the metals, and also if we are able to recover the metals selectively. There are some proof of concept of biomining, for example, with nickel, which is a very quite valuable metal. In the case of pollution, when the most widespread pollution and some of the pollution that we have in our sites is, for example, cadmium, which is present in many agricultural sites because it's present in fertilizers. So with cadmium, the problem is not that you can uptake the cadmium, you can probably do it selectively, but it's not very valuable to really make a case for a business model there. So in that case, you probably need a strategy to manage the plants that are polluted with cadmium, because you cannot dispose of them and you cannot leave them in the field, because otherwise they will decay and the cadmium will return to the field. But probably it's not very cost efficient to propose biomining in that case. Okay.
Okay, thank you again.
Thank you.
Let's come to the next project, SYMBIOREM, presented by Leire Luis Rubio from University of Basque Country in Spain. Maybe you take the phone.
So I believe that I will be the big fault. But anyway, I will present our European project, the SYMBIOREM. But first of all, thank you for the invitation. It is a really pleasure to meet so many people working in the same field with the same objective. And I will work for some time first to produce a very making up the police of our university. The University of Basque Country is a little medium university in a small area in the country, known, I believe, more for the interests than for science, but we are also good in science side of things. So we have 45,000 students, that is quite nice. A lot of PhD students also, lecture, about 600 and so, and a lot of researchers. So we came from physical chemistry department, that it could be quite challenging, I believe, because here a lot of people work in more biology related areas, but we are from physical chemistry, and we work mainly in polymer science. And yes, the polymers also have some space in bioremediation. So let's start with our project. SYMBIOREM is this newborn, let's say, a project comparing with the other projects, the greener. For sure, we just begin this September. We have a consortium of 70 partners that we have right here with 6 or 7 universities all around Europe, some experts in business models, and communications, like Greenovate, Aldantis, Terforce, Revolt, but also some little enterprise working in bioremediation. Other, I believe that for me is very talented, but at the same time very motivating to work with NGOs. For us, this citizen science is far, far away from, let's say, our comfort zone, because we are very happy making science, but not so many happy engaged with the people engagement. For me, from my point of view, is very, very challenging this area. And as you say, we have a good picture of many, many different areas. So, as we know, we have a huge challenge right now. There is many areas in Europe, all around the world for sure, but we are going to focus in Europe, that suffer a lot of pollution. So we are going to focus, or our main objective is to try to solve this contamination or this pollutant problems in soils, water surface, underground water and sediment, and also in seawater and marine sediments. I don't want to define bioremediation because for sure there are many people here that they are going to define better than me. So all we know, all we are working in bioremediation. So what we are going to try to do in our project? We have focus in these areas, and for example, for soil, we are going to tailor microbes and try to this kind of bioremediation technologies for soil remediation. We are going to also use bio-encapsulated nutrients, cells and enzymes that they are going to be carried by polymers, biopolymers. And we are going to use general bioremediation based on synthetic auxotrophic systems, also active water absorbing geocomposites that they use fungi and yeast for this bioremediation. In addition, we are going to improve the phytostabilization of soils by bioelectrification. And finally, in soils, we are going to phytomanage saline soils and drain water. This last point, I sorry, I forgot before. We are going to work with one university of the USA from University of California State in Fresno that they are going to use this kind of technology. Moving to water, we are going to use floating island in different approach. We are going to use active surfaces. Also, we are going to use fresh muscle that I believe that nobody told about muscle, but we can use it also for bioremediation. And we are going to adapt intensified wetlands for treatment of leachate from mixing soil waste from landfills. And finally, we are going to try to remediate phosphorus, remediate and recover phosphorus, and try to do this kind of circular economy base for phosphorus with a cascade bioremediation for in situ treatment of this phosphorus and some heavy metals from Sweden. And also, as we are going to use this circular approach to try to select with technology and try to know which is the best technology that we are going to apply, trying to generalize different technologies considering the different kind of soils. More or less, what are we going, or where are we going to test our technologies? We are going to use 10 different locations in 6 countries, sorry. Industrial brownfields in Spain, Poland, and Austria. You can diffuse pollution of surface water bodies that they are going to be tested in near London and also in Poland. Agricultural drains that is going to be tested in USA and also in Austria. And finally, mixed soil waste landfill that are going to test in Spain, Basque Country, and also in Sweden. So, okay. So, summarizing, we are going to develop different innovative strategies to remove pollution from soil, sediment, water, groundwater, in order to bioremediate and really reduce the contamination in Europe. We are going to develop new circular business models. Also, we want to increase the safety of bioremediation technologies, and we are quite proud of the last point. We are going to try to increase the assistance of bioremediation solution by engagement, by the engagement of citizens. I believe that this is for us the most challenging, as I say, because we are scientists and we are not very, even for my point of view, I am kids, I am also, I know how to speak with my students, but I believe that I don't know how to speak with my student parents. And this is the point also of our project. Try to not only to make good science, also to engage people that could believe in us to give us money to reduce the pollution. Our expected outcomes. So clean water. I mean, we are going to make 12 new or improved bioremediation strategies. We are going to try to reduce significantly the pH from brownfield and different areas, and also to increase the knowledge of which are the best organisms for bioremediation, comparing with the different types of soils that they are going to manage during the project. more or less, this is our idea. This is the SYMBIOREM. You can get in touch with, you have there our emails, our information. We are also already in the, we have one website working, a lot of things in the media, thanks to people from Innovate that they are making a huge work. This is SYMBIOREM. Thank you very much.
There is one question. And next. Even by myself about the project MIBIREM. Yeah, MIBIREM toolbox for microbiome-based remediation. It's the next EU project. It started only in October last year. We are 11 partners from 6 different countries. Duration is 4.5 years, and we have a budget of 6 million euros. And as the title says, we are focusing on microbiomes that can remediate organic contaminants. The aim is to understand full microbiome, so not to isolate individual strains, but really try to understand full microbiomes and doing the work. Improve the microbiomes, but also isolate and deposit these microbiomes for future use. So we just don't want to work with DNA, but really try to isolate and cultivate and propagate these microbiomes. And we're also going from starting with taking samples from contaminated sites, and in the end, we want them to end up with doing pilot tests at some of these sites. So I'll guide you through the work packages of the project. Work package 1 sounds a little bit boring, but it's very important because we try to harmonize what we are doing in the project. We are different partners with different things, how they do it. And we try to harmonize the methods, how to take samples, how to handle these samples, to store them, how to extract DNA, so that we do it all the same way and get finally comparable results. And this is one of the outcomes, this handbook, that maybe can use also for other, maybe from other projects or from other people. We are dealing with groundwater and soil, and we have 3 use cases, means 3 types of contaminants. These are cyanides, petroleum hydrocarbons, and lindane, and the other isomers of lindane. So the chemical would be cyclohexane. And we take samples from, as I said, from contaminated sites, determine the physical chemical parameters at the site and also the on-site parameters to get really also a good picture of the chemical situation at the site. Currently, we are taking the samples. So we are taking groundwater samples, soil samples. We are extracting DNA, measuring the chemical composition. And we are using backtraps to accumulating degrading bacteria. We are doing microcosm experiments to investigate the degradation capacity of the bacteria. And finally, isolating not only single strains, but also the whole microcosms that are degrading if we find degraders. So this is the aim, to find to get samples where we really have good degradation. We then try to understand the degradation process by different methods. One of them is stable isotope probing, or also RNA analysis. And we try to isolate also strains, I said, but we also try to improve the microbiomes by adaptive laboratory evolution. Here we have a French company in the consortium that is doing that. So we try to put evolutionary pressure on the whole microbiome to improve some traits that would be good for a later application. And then we have the aim to deposit this whole microbiome. For that, we need to develop new quality criteria. These exist for single strains, but not for whole microbiomes. So this is a real challenge. One important part of this will be qPCR. So we try to develop novel qPCRs, novel primers to really characterize these microbiomes and link this to their degradation activity. And so these deposited microbiomes and strains should be available for later use, for research use, and also for potential applications. What we also have in the project is a prediction tool. And so this is an IT model tool where we try to integrate microbial, chemical, physical data, and also processes, and that should help to decide if bioremediation is possible at the site, and if yes, how is it, or how should we treat, what do we have to do the best bioremediation at the site. And finally, we go back to the fields. For each of the 3 use cases, we select one site and select one microbiome and test the application of this microbiome for each use case, meaning for each contaminant at one of the contaminated sites. For that, we need to scale up the process and do these field tests. Before we do this, we try to compare different approaches. So we have our enrichment cultures, then we have the adaptive laboratory evolution, and the third thing is we try to generate artificial consortia from single strains and compare these 3 approaches to see which works best in improving the degradation capacity of microbiomes. And finally, we have our toolbox. So all the methods, handbooks, processes we develop in the project should be part of a toolbox that shall be applicable also to other use cases. And we have to test if all these tools we develop meet regulatory requirements, and if they also meet market needs. And of course, we have a dissemination work package, and in the frame of this dissemination work package, we are here, and we also co-organized this workshop today. That's it. Here are some links and contacts. If you have any questions, with enough time.
Percentage of micro that you do in the bioregulation. If I understood correctly, you are going to use C for the analysis of this active microbes.
Yes.
And do you have any idea of the percentage of the active microbes within the total microbial community or not yet?
Not yet. Not yet. No, we really have to see. I mean, we start with the community analysis, but we know that probably only a very small number of strains really involved in this active part. So,
and do you plan to see the active method depending on the chemical that you are going to regulate or not?
yes, yeah, that's the plan. So, yeah. Another question.
Something like this is a subsystem or is it different type of
Sorry, what?
like it's sort of system or ESS or it's
Yeah, it's we use different softwares, and we try to integrate different scales. So the hydrological scale, the microbiological scale, and try to integrate this to answer the question if bioremediation is possible at a site. So I'm not a modeler, so I cannot tell you any details. I'm the biologist, but I can be in contact with the colleagues who are doing this, and if you're interested, yeah. Any other question? If not, then let's go to the next project. This is NYMPHE, and it's presented by Julius Odi.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So thank you very much for the invitation and giving me the opportunity to present the NYMPHE project. I'm Giulio Meroli from the University of Bologna, and I am coordinating NYMPHE, which is a research and innovation action that has been funded in response to the topic on Cluster 6 2021 Zero Pollution 110. So on environmental services, improved bioremediation strategies for soil sediments and water. And that has been funded with around 5.5 million euros by the European Commission. We started our project very recently on January of this year, so we are at our 6 months of life, let's say. And NYMPHE is a consortium of 18 partners, which comprise 9 among universities and research institutions, 6 SMEs, 1 large company, and 2 NGOs that are overall coming from different, from actually 12 countries in Europe. So our main goal is to develop bioremediation and revitalization strategies using so-called bioremediation systems that are consisting of assemblies of multiple biologics. So integrating different biologics acting on pollutants. We want, of course, to assess those bioremediation systems from several points of view, in particular technical, environmental, economic, and societal. In particular, looking looking at the revitalization of the polluted environment. And we want also to showcase those bioremediation systems at for real contaminated sites, plus, let's say, one site that will be used to showcase these systems using genomically edited organisms in confined environments. Where, of course, the overall aim is to remove at least 90% of the main pollutant mixtures that are present at the sites. So NYMPHE builds up around maybe 4 sites, real contaminated sites that are representing very common contaminant situations around Europe and let's say also in the globe. We have an industrial site located in northern Italy, where we have both soil and groundwater that are contaminated by petroleum hydrocarbons, but also by chlorinated aliphatic hydrocarbons and some heavy metals. We have an agricultural soil, an agricultural field located in Greece, which is contaminated with microplastics and pesticides. Then we have a very interesting site, a river Erta site, which has a hyporheic flow. So surface pore water, pore water, and sediment that is contaminated with pharmaceuticals due to input from upstream municipal wastewater treatment plants. And then we have municipal wastewater at the Imidea water facility in ELECTRA, close to Madrid. So we are considering municipal wastewater as a source of contaminants for surface water mainly, and the target pollutants are pharmaceuticals and microplastics. Of course, if we think about municipal wastewater treatment, this typically takes place in plants, so somehow already confined systems. If we speak about soils, this is not possible. I mean, it typically happens in more open environments. So we have also a site in the Czech Republic, which is used as facility enabling the confined use of genomically edited biologics that will be developed in the project. So the NYMPHE concept, let's say, is looking. The NYMPHE concept is looking at the complexity of real pollutant site, where many factors can limit bioremediation efficiency. Both if we consider, let's say, the pollutant aspect, multiple contamination, low bioavailability, but also if we consider the environment or matrix features, or the performance of the biologics that may sometimes lack competitivity or lack some specific catabolic activities or need to acclimatize in the system. So NYMPHE proposes a nature-inspired and reality-tailored system approach where that will be based on the development of association of multiple biologics to target these complex situations, and also to improve their performance through a toolbox that will, let's say, improve the efficiency, the biodegradation efficiency of biologics, but also looking at microbiome management based on microbiome models. The NYMPHE approach is based first on the first level on the selection of a number of different biologics. We are looking at enzymes, different microbes, bacteria, algae, fungi, plants and their associated microbiomes, but also animals. We are considering plants and earthworms that are suited for high performance degradation of the pollutants that are characteristically, let's say, present at these 4 sites. And of course, the second step is building up these multi-component systems. So assembling different biologics within the real contaminated matrix in order to, let's say, complement their degradation activities. At this level, of course, this will be done first at the laboratory scale. At this level, we will also investigate the system in terms of microbiome. I don't know why it's not working. Can you please?
I'm sorry.
Go,
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not working anymore.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. We will look at the microbiomes. So we will characterize and model resistant microbiomes in order to identify the keystone species and identify those metabolic activities that may need to be enhanced, complemented, or suppressed to boost bioremediation. On a third level, let's see, no, yes, on a third level, we will develop tools to improve the biologics, and mainly we are referring to microbial biologics, looking at strategies for improving this, let's say, their performance at the system level. So, for example, building up artificial communities with complementary pathways, so finding a way to have stable community assemblies. Of course, designing modulation strategies and modulators for the microbiomes, but also, for example, we will try to improve with natural approaches, single tools through, for example, the accelerated evolution in membrane bioreactors, or using molecular devices for control genomic variability. Other approaches will be, let's say, more engineering of the biosystem using synthetic biology, gene editing, and also controlling the spatial distribution of biodegraders, for example, through 3D bioprint. So all these approaches will be tested, or this improved biologics will be tested back in the systems, both at the laboratory scale, but in case of positive performance at lab scale, also in pilot or field test at a different site. And both at lab and pilot scale, of course, the technologies and the systems will be assessed through a number of different approaches, both from the technical, environmental, economical, and societal aspects. And there will be benchmarked again, let's say, the remediation strategies that are currently in use. One important aspect, let's say, in this assessment from the technical environmental point of view will be the development of an innovative integrated evaluation tools to obtain a conclusive environmental quality and risk assessment of the treatment matrices that will be based on the combination of different information, chemical information, ecotoxicology information, but also microbiome functions and biodiversity, and let's say, for example, biochemical cycles and so on. The other important aspect with this assessment will be also the development of a mathematical model that is aiming to forecast the environmental impact of bioremediation in order to understand if the proposed solutions will help in reaching a good revitalization status of the site, in particular in relation to the 2000 ecological requirements. So in conclusion, let's say all these activities are expected to allow us to design and propose efficient bioremediation and revitalization strategies that are fully assessed at pilot and field scale. And this is expected to have a number of different environmental, technological, economic, and societal impact. In particular, let's say, better perspective of revitalization, biodiversity, and ecosystem services recovery, but also growth in the bioremediation sector and new jobs and so on. And with this, I concluded, and thank you very much for your attention. Here you see the let's say project website and the social in which NYMPHE project is already happening. Yes, one of the key compounds that was with Tom is diclofenac, which is one painkiller, so it is a drug among the most frequently found and most fantastic transitive degradation. So the idea is to look through this, and maybe I would say, yes, gene editing, but also accelerated natural evolution of either single pure cultures or microbial communities. If there is a way to find pathways that are attacking the different complex part of this game. But this is not the only one. Let's say this is the most relevant, probably, because really of its recalcitrance.
Thank you. Second one.
So, regarding the biodiversity assessment, so you mentioned you have a goal of 90% degradation for the pollutants.
Yeah.
And you want to restore biodiversity. So do you have set a goal for that, like a certain percentage of biodiversity that you want to reach? And maybe before you answer, are you benchmarking with an area close to the selected site where you know that this height?
Yes, very nice and interesting questions. Okay. Let's say regarding the biodiversity, we will look mainly at microbial biodiversity, or this is at least something, let's say, easier to do. But in the ecological assessment that our partner Perseus will perform, he will look also at the biodiversity of the area and of nearby areas that are not affected by pollution in terms of flora and fauna biodiversity. And I'm sorry, I'm not the expert on this specific aspect. Yes, you want to complement? Okay, Timothy will help me to complement. But this will be done, let's say, following some, as far as I understood from the expert, some taking into consideration the approaches and the indicators from the Natura 2000 framework that is setting, let's say, the indicators to be followed in terms of biodiversity to be, let's say, reach a good ecological status. I don't know if
no, I just wanted to comment on the Natura 2000 benchmark.
Okay. Thank you very much again. Thank you. So these were the new projects. Now we come to the projects that are finished already. The first one is ELECTRA. The talk is not given by Philip Cavini, as it is written in the program, but by Cornel Grabe from University of Ghent.
You need the mic?
No, the clicker. The control. The control. Yes, we do it one.
Did you need with the mic?
No, it's not the mic yet.
all right, can you hear me? On the desktop.
That's a
free,
You need some help.
some free advertisement for SYMBIOREM.
Yeah, it doesn't show you what shows you.
We got that in your discussion next time.
So you can pressure change.
Yeah. Do I have time for a donut?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, this is what it's like for something. Yeah, it's so simple, but it doesn't. We have too many. Many things.
That's the PDF. There was a PDF file. There was a PowerPoint too, but it's okay.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
but I only have a PDF here on the.
No, it's on the desktop.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Go first. Go to the next. Go.
This one.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, many thanks for the opportunity to present ELECTRA here. I've called it a snapshot of outcomes because, of course, after 4 years of projects with many partners working together, a lot has been done. So the ELECTRA project worked on electromicrobiology, which sits on the interface between electrochemistry, steering conversions with electricity, and microbiology, using microorganisms as biocatalysts. And this can happen in a direct or an indirect manner. And so within ELECTRA, we had both a European and a Chinese consortium. So there were 17 EU partners, 5 Chinese partners. And the project also included several SMEs, large companies. So what we did in ELECTRA is we worked on a range of contaminants and preferably on combinations of contaminants, because often you will, for example, have nitrate and arsenic being present in the groundwater stream together. We worked on 4 different matrices: groundwater, wastewater, soil, sediments. And of course, besides technology development, we looked also at ecotoxicity for each of these technologies, life cycle analysis, economic analysis. And so at the onset of the project, we made with quite a few groups, also a positioning paper in the journal Environmental Science and Ecotechnology of this topic. So in terms of the project structure, rather than going through the work packages, important in such a large consortium is to have agreement on methods. So there was a lot of crosstalk about analysis. We did sampling of our sites where we wanted to go for trial, and microbial cultures were selected, enriched, characterized. Then a suite of different bioremediation technologies was deployed. Electromicrobiology is a very broad field, so depending on the matrix you're working in and the type of contaminant you're looking at, you actually need a different reactor embodiment. It's important to also consider that in the development. And then in parallel, for each of these technologies, there was a preliminary LCA, risk assessment, ecotoxicity. And based on that process, we had in the project foreseen a block of funding, which sat with the coordinator, and only the 4
technologies that were sufficient mature and sufficiently promising after the first phase received an extra block of funding within the project to build a pilot. And so this was a quite unusual approach, but we found that very logic to do it that way. You want to evaluate after a year or two what is really working well and argue really well why we're going to scale them up. And so this took a procedure that also involved external assessors that we appointed for that. So this is just a bit of a view of different technologies, and I can obviously, if you have a consortium with 25 different partners in there, you cannot discuss all the different technologies, but what you can see is that they look very different from plant-based systems, reactor-based systems, fluidized battery reactors, depending on the type of application. Okay, so let's look at a few examples. Here's some lab work done in Girona, working on groundwater that is contaminated with nitrate. What you can see here is that what they did was study different hydraulic retention times. So the lower the hydraulic retention time, the more you're loading, the more nitrate you bring in the reactor. And then they looked at how much of that nitrate was removed. And you saw a very good correlation. But there was a very nice nitrate removal. There were 2 places that such nitrate removal studied with 2 different technologies, but the results were very comparable. So the target initially at the project was to remove 1 kilogram of nitrate per cubic meter per day. And so at least at laboratory scale, this was performed by almost a factor 3 with a highly qualitative in the lab conversion of nitrate all the way to nitrogen. This was in both locations the same, showing that the basic process is sound. Then the 2 different technologies were deployed near Girona, in a town called Navata, where there's a site next to a soccer field, where there's quite a high nitrate concentration, quite a high hardness, and also at least a measurable arsenic concentration, not problematically high. And so the pilot plant that was deployed there achieved all of its objectives, except that on these sites, we saw that there was more N2O emissions. So this is certainly work that has to be continued. This is another view on the fluidized battery reactor. A fluidized BESS is basically a reactor system in which conductive particles are used, and they're fluidized in the reactor. And the biofilms, the electroactive biofilms, on these particles, they store together with the particle charge. And so they denitrify the solution, and then when they hit the contact electrode, they charge them again. So the idea is that these are scalable designs and not taking too much time here. Similarly, targets were reached of about 1 kilogram of nitrate per cubic meter per day. But what you see in these reactors is that there's more production also of ammonia. The reduction sometimes goes too far if you push the system all the way from nitrate to ammonia. Similarly, between the first one was vitreous carbon, the second one were graphite granules. You see also in these conditions, push the system too hard and you have too much ammonia. So on to a very different type of pollutants, the CAHs. A process was developed in Rome to in 2 stages. First, reductively treat PCE, for example, to form BC, after which an oxidative step was performed. So this is a 2-stage system. And based on the lab results, which showed a full removal, also there a pilot was constructed. So it was a double line. So each time the 2 steps. And here's an image also of what it looks in the field. So this was a collaboration also with a company, IEG, and IEG delivered a recirculating well that allowed to bring effectively the groundwater into the reactor system and then circulate it back in without too much head loss. So I don't have a slide on the results here, but they were able to also dechlorinate there on site. But in that water, there was on site also a lot of competition by sulfate production. So this is also work in progress. And the final technology that I'm presenting was developed actually by Abraham Estebaninias, who is here, is the Metland. And so you may all be familiar with nature-based systems, wetlands, that typically have quite a high surface area, and they develop also redox gradients with the depth. And as a result of these redox gradients, you can, for example, deeper in the filter that it is, you can have methanogenesis or other unwanted reactions. So by replacing the matrix in such a wetland by a conductive matrix, you create a Metland. But that breaks through the redox stratification. And what you see is that microorganisms connecting with the particles, the bed material deep in the bed, are actually electrically connected to the top where oxygen reduction occurs. And that intensifies the process. You basically transport oxidative power through the wetland. And this takes away that unwanted gradient. Not just they seem to be very compact, they are also very elegant. So these are units that were deployed. And the focus, while concept was already shown for wastewater treatment, the focus within ELECTRA was to look at the micropollutants. And so here you see, for example, from a first system, they looked at the impact of the type of material used in the bed on the removal of different kinds of micropollutants. This work was then continued for a wastewater that also contained nitrate. And so in these Metlands, you also see removal of nitrate of about 160 grams per cubic meters per day. In combination with the nitrate, also here the micropollutants were followed in the campaign in 21. And you see that for certain micropollutants, a very high removal efficiency was achieved. Then, as a final step, I'm taking a bit long on the Metlands. That's because I'm under pressure from Abraham. A larger system was designed. So, 12 cubic meter system, a mobile system that can also be put in series. That's been running continuously for about 30 cubic meters of wastewater a day. And you can see that the effluents of these kind of systems are very clean, while even making noise, while the influent was conventional wastewater. For more details, I'm sure Abraham can also respond. And also there, now really these outdoor settings, we followed the micropollutants removal, and we connected also with China. So in China, several deployments were done as well. There was a plant developed by the Academy of Sciences that was put at the wastewater treatment plant near Nanjing that was contaminated with benzoate. But here also at a site in Xi'an, micropollutant removal was followed, and for that also a small Metland unit was brought to China. So that's in hopefully not much longer than 10 minutes, a snapshot of what happened in ELECTRA. I think the project has achieved much of its goals, but the realization is that it is as yet not finished. There's still further development needed, but that's what a scientist always says no. So thank you for your attention, and if there are any questions.
Where do you want
Fine.
Here?
Thank you.
Good. Good. Thank you. You can start. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about the ECLAR project. So ECLAR stands for Enhanced Innovative Zero Biotechnologies for Contaminated Land Remediation. It's an European project H2020 that started in 2021 and it will finish next year in 2024. So ECLAR combines biological and non-biological processes to extend the sustainability and cost effectiveness benefits of in situ bioremediation. This project brings together an expert European Union and China consortium of academics, industries, and wide stakeholders. So our consortium consists of 13 European partners and 5 Chinese universities. And the coordination team has 2 scientific coordinators and 1 project manager. From the European side, we have Professor Timothy Vogel, and from the Chinese side, Professor Xin Song and myself as a project manager. Today, Professor Vogel and Professor Song could not join us, so this is me with great pleasure to present the ECLAR project and its key outcomes. Okay, so ECLAR develops 4 biotechnologies, and these technologies merge or combines specific physical, chemical, and electrical processes to environmental technologies. Okay. The first one is electro-nano-bioremediation, ENV. The second, monitor bioremediation, MBR. Then we have the classic one. Okay. Did I continue? Yeah, okay. BER.
Oh.
And finally, Well, it happens. Okay, where we are. Yeah, so we have in ECLAR 4 technologies. So we were in enhanced bioremediation, the 4th one. Okay, so let's start. So it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we just. Yeah, I think it's good. Okay, so let's start with the first technologies, electro-nano-bioremediation. Well, electro-nano-bioremediation is based on nanoremediation, that is the use of nanomaterials, especially iron nanoparticles for contaminated site remediation. But in this case, ECLAR develops like a combination of macro and nano zero violent with applied electrokinetic treatment. So this electrokinetic remediation involves applying low voltage of direct current across a section of contaminated aquifer material. Like in summary, this is the principle of the technology. So what we have observed in ECLAR is a positive effect of the direct current on the zero violent iron longevity. As well, there is a good benefit because the enhancement of migration and nutrient transport to indigenous bacteria and the pollutant availability is increased. So it means that the combination of both nano and micro zero violent iron with electrokinetic treatment, we can have all these benefits. So these assumptions were proved thanks to large-scale experiments carried out by your German partners at the University of Stuttgart. And also, today, we have some tests that are being carried out in Spain and Hungary for this technology. Now, let's continue with the monitor bioremediation, MDR.
Sorry, you don't
Apologies,
share
but you are not sharing the slides.
You don't share this.
You don't share. Okay.
You don't want it.
Yeah, okay. I thought I was but check three.
But it's in the beginning.
Stop sharing and share again. Okay, sorry, please go. Sorry for the technical problems.
Okay. Well, okay, where we were in the second technology of EICLaR, monitor bioremediation. Well, this technology, it's like basically aerobic metabolic degradation because it represents a new and promising approach for removing contaminants. So this aerobic chlorine biodegradation can occur under natural conditions or after oxygen addition. Oxygen addition. And if the required microorganisms are not present on the site, so our vision here is that we add enriched cultures on the field site. And we have already performed this technology in large-scale experiments, as well that some pilot tests have finalized in Germany and Belgium using this technology. And what we observed, an interesting input of this technology, is that there is no dangerous metabolites formation, and there is no required substrates that for metabolic degradation for TCE is necessary. Now, bioelectrochemical remediation is like this technology you have seen in other European projects. So let's go to the facts that in this example, we observed that the BER is an electrochemical system where an additional electron acceptor at an anode for the microorganisms able to oxidize high energetic compounds. And these electrons are connected to a cathode because it works like an electron donor source for reductive biodegradation. In this part of this technology, we have seen, of course, petroleum hydrocarbons removal, and also our Chinese partners are working with this system for TCE and BCE degradation. Fundamental part for this technology, we are developing and we're gaining insights of electrokinetic effects of microbes and dechlorination activity. And now we can identify the microorganisms that are involved in hydrocarbon degradation. So we have just started. This is a technology that has progressed less compared to the others. Some pilot tests in China and in the United Kingdom. Last but not least, enhanced bioremediation. Well, bioremediation is known for by every of us, but it has been considered very less expensive technology and environmental friendly remediation technology compared to the chemical and physical technologies. Here in EICLaR, we call it enhanced because we use electrodes and electricity application to corrode iron or well to drive newly formed iron oxides. Also, another approach to enhance this bioremediation technology is mycorrhizal injection, because thanks to this injection, we can increase the synergistic interaction between plants, microorganisms, and microrats. So what we have observed from this technology is that the salt properties indeed have improved, like contaminant toxicity, reduction, and bioavailability. And from the lab scale experiments, the degradation of pH, for example, in soil using eucalypt and ryegrass has been performed, as well as eucalypt and poplar plants are being used in China for TCE removal. We're in the middle for pilot tests in Sweden and China using this technology. Well, this is the last technology that I'm presenting for EICLaR. Thank you very much for your attention, and sorry for all this technical.
Thank you very much. And again, sorry for the technical problems. It's not disturbing. Maybe one question, if there is one quick question. No, it's fine. It's fine. Stay here. Yeah, one over there.
Okay, can you explain me how the interaction with the
sorry, maybe you can just ask to use the microphone for the question.
Oh, yes. I'm wondering what's going on with the electricity application and the poplar plants or the eucalypt plants.
Okay, so well, in the case of poplar plants, initially it has been just studied in China in lab scale experiments. We haven't applied electricity inputs. This electricity technology actually is developed for a company in Finland called EcoGrid, that is a partner of the project. And we have just started experiments in the pilot test in Sweden. So for eucalypt and polar plants, it's not the case. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry again for the technical problem. Last but not least, presentation of Grina from Rocío Barros from University of Burgos in Spain.
Hello, good afternoon. Well, I start this morning with the final conference, and then I will end the presentation. Yes, this morning we were presenting different technologies within Greener, so I think I'm not going to present in detail the technologies because most of you were this morning. So yeah, so well, I'm Rocío Barros, I'm the project coordinator of Greener. Well, this project, I did not start this as a coordinator. It was a company, the project coordinator. But then after 12 months, when the company left, and then well, the consortium decided that I should be the coordinator, and then I was sharing the scientific part with Eduardo Borras and Mireia Di Lorenzo. So, well, Greener is a EU project that was funded in 2019 in the core Biotech 04. So it was a sister project of ELECTRA. And well, the idea of the project was to develop different types of remediation technologies, sustainable, efficient, low-cost solution. It integrated different technologies more traditionally from the biological point of view, but it can be phytoremediation, bioaugmentation, or biostimulation, and integrated these technologies with the bioelectrochemical system. Yeah, so well, we are also a big consortium. It was a collaboration with China as ELECTRA and the EiCLaR project, but in our case, the Chinese consortium was not funded. So that was a challenge because the Chinese partners have been working with any fund from the national government. So so that has been a very challenging for the project and the consortium. Well, as you can see, we were 16 partners in Europe and 4 partners in China, 4 universities. Yeah, next, thank you. Well, and then there are different objectives. We have different objectives in the project. Like, first of all, working with different polluted sites. So we were looking for some polluted sites apart of the one identified in the proposals. We were characterizing these sites from the physical, chemical, and biological point of view. Then we were looking for development of different water remediation technologies, several soil remediation technologies, and then we work together on defining how to scale up and demonstrate the efficiency of those solutions. Yeah, well, also taking into account all the sustainability aspects and yeah, innovation and dissemination. Yeah, well, if we focus also on some impacts that we defined at the beginning, the idea was also to remediate at least 2 toxic contaminants, to scaling up some of the technologies, also to have benefits from the to take benefits over the standard physical chemical remediation approaches, and other impacts as well, creation of new companies, job creation, and yeah, establishing the development of cost-effective bioprocesses. Yeah. So well, we have a work packages. I'm not going to detail because I did explain it before. So next one, yeah, thank you, Thomas. Well, in the project, we were focused in different remediation technologies. So for the surface water and groundwater, we were focusing on using microalgae, so phytoremediation to remediation or to eliminate and degrade azobites. Then we have been working in phytoremediation as an individual technology for metal removal in water. And then we have combining those technologies with bioelectrochemical systems to increase or to tackle different multi-contaminants. So we have been working with TPHs, pesticides, antibiotics, and also metals and hydrocarbons. And also when the bioelectrochemical system has been just develop alone as a technology, also to work on different type of contaminants. And this part has been, well, the part of the biological system has been led by Leitat and University of Surrey within the Greener project. Yeah, next. So for the soil part, we have been working in the improvement of biomentation and biostimulation technologies, how to increase the remediation efficiency and also to increase the remediation, to decrease, sorry, the remediation time. Also, well, analyzing different kind of alternative enrichment, microalgae as a biofertilizer, also to develop by the Joseph Stefan different bacterial carriers using the colloid biology approaches. So we have been working on how to improve this biomutation and biostimulation technologies. Well, that part was done by my university, in the University of Burgos, in collaboration with the Joseph Stefan Autónoma de Madrid. Then, for the soil, we have been working also in the ecopiles. For that, we have been set 7 ecopiles at the beginning of the project, and these 7 ecopiles has been studied in detail from the microbiome analysis in order to understand what is happening inside these ecopiles. So we have been working on these ecopiles in Ireland and in China. And then University of Bath was working on how to increase and how to develop bioelectrochemical systems, mainly microbial fuel cells, to hydrocarbon and pesticides degradation. And the bioelectrochemical systems has been developed using also modelization from the University of Calgary. Yes. As a general approach of the project, the first work package also was set to develop and to understand the microbiology of the polluted site. So we have been taking samples in order to understand, well, which is this microbiome and how can we use it to improve the different remediation technologies. Also, well, modeling the metabolic pathways of the different microbiomes. Yeah, this information has been used for developing synthetic community that has been used for the improvement of the biomentation, biostimulation technologies, but also to develop different cell aggregation and different carriers by the Joseph Stefan Institute. Well, these technologies, some of them has been scaling up, and we have validated a real scale environment, some of them that I will show you later. But also with this information, we have been, we are still developing a decision-making tool to be applied, taking into account different KPIs. And also all these technologies has been validated from the ecotoxicological point of view, evaluating the ecotoxicity before and after remediation to ensure the safety or the contamination from the safety point of view of these technologies. Yeah. So, well, just as a summary of the 4 years of Greener, for those that you were not this morning because I presented, but we have been working with 13 polluted sites, 12 in Europe and 1 in China. We have been developed 13 remediation technologies, 8 hybrid systems, combining all those technologies that was presented before. We have 5 pilots at real scale that I will show you now. And well, we have 41 publications with 23 peer review papers in open access. So, well, as I said before, something that I think, Alfredo was presenting also this morning, is that for the scaling up, we have we established a 5-step decision tool diagram, defining all the KPIs for each of the technologies. So I think it was good in order to understand which are the KPIs, taking into account the operational conditions of all of the technologies. So we can really understand where we have to improve the technologies for the scaling up. Yeah. Well, as I said, this is more or less the global map of all the technology that we work in the water and how we were combining until go to the end. This is for the water, and then this is for the soil. And the last part that I showed you this morning is also that we have 5 pilots that are currently running because, well, as we started later than ELECTRA, so we are ending this August, the project. So as you can see, well, as I said, we have been developed the ecopies in Ireland and China. We have currently running a biopile, a big biopile in Spain, in Acciona, that is a construction company in the machinery part of the yeah. And then we are also combining the electrochemical systems and the phytoremediation to eliminate metals in water, but also take into account that in this case the water is very acid and also has a high salinity. So for being used for phytoremediation, it was a problem. We were not able to grow any plant or any micro. So with the combination, we have been able to to degrade or to eliminate the methane using the both technologies. Also, well, sorry. Yeah. Also, well, we have another pilot based on bioelectrochemical systems in Tarragona, in which there is a company there in which there are high hydrocarbons contamination. So a pilot is setting there, and results are right now coming up. And finally, the company Tau is also doing a bioprecipitation in Belgium. Then, yeah. Okay, yeah, you can follow us if you want in the social media. And yes, I would like just to say thank you with the picture of the consortium in the Microtech Week that we organized in Union.
Okay, so I will send the first question to the coordinators would be, there have been so many projects on bioremediation, on the use of microorganisms, and the question is, why should we continue doing some research? Anybody?
Well, I mean, for one, there are many successful applications of microorganisms, so it does show that it works. It does show that it's not easy, that we have so many different settings, so you have to keep on developing for new and emerging pollutants. Plus, biology is also key to solve some of the more high impact remediation approaches at the moment, like you see for PFAS and the like, really brute force that is being used, very high energy intensity. I'm not saying that microorganisms are certainly going to degrade PFAS, but we should keep on going. One thing we should do is integrate more of the physical chemistry to bring that biospace much more together with physical chemical approaches, because either of them can't solve everything. So you need both, but you need to get these communities together as well.
Yeah, I think one reason why we should go on doing research in bioremediation, especially with bacteria, is that they are very that they can evolve very fast, and they need organic food of any kind, and in principle they can create any kind of organic substances. The question is only how fast this takes place, and if you can manage to give them the right conditions. But if we find ways to for instance, like artificial evolution, to give them time to adapt, I'm convinced that they can also increase the speed of degradation and degrade almost any kinds of organic substance that we have by bacteria.
We had only a night.
I would like just to add that I think that there is not a unique solution. when we talk about bioremediation. And we saw for all the projects that depending on the pollutant, we use one or another technology. And it's true that biotechnology, bioremediation is doing like good progress, but indeed we have like a great path to continue working with. And also it's also for the point of economical view. For example, for ELECTRA, I could say that when we work with industrial, with companies, they always how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take. So this kind of bottlenecks should be continue performing and improving this case.
Yeah, there's also to add as a completely agree what Conrad was saying, because I think so we have solid pollutants, but because we have been dealing with some pollutants that has been already studied in the past. So, but right now also with the PFAS and other pollutants that are for sure are going to emerge, it is necessary to continue working on that. And also when for the bioremediation. Something that I really like it for what I saw today is, for example, in BIOSYSMO and in NYMPHE, the idea of working also with and also with the MIBIREM, the idea of working on to understand this microbiome and also to use artificial intelligence tools to decrease the remediation time, and also I think also the cost previous to do the remediation, it is really important, because also the remediation projects are costly and also time consuming. So I think it's yeah, everything that can improve is also is fine with this.
Also, I agree with all that we have been said, but also we have to focus on where are we remediating. I mean, we saw many different slides in which we saw soil as one thing that is soil. That when we change from one place to another, one place to another, the pollution changes, but the soil also. And this also could include some modification that we are not always see in advance. So it's quite complicated to say, okay, this soil has this component, also this pollutant, how are you going to remediate? So if we are able to improve our research, getting more and more data, later we are going to know in some point in advance how which is the best bioremediation or remediation technologies that we have to put together in order to perform the better solution. And this for me, it is a group, because in that point also we are going to be able to use these new technologies, intelligent or artificial intelligence, to try to help us thinking which is the best solution. It's always possible for us, so it's not because we have to work in something, but I mean, much work to do on that.
The next question is, you mentioned the database, and we produce, and over years we've produced a cloud of the data, and to the best of my knowledge, there is no centralized system, no platform. So is it something we could try to work on, working collaboratively with the different projects, having such a database?
Yes, I mean, I think that's really important. For example, one part of my group is working on the safe and sustainable device design, and there in this part, it is true that there is a clustering between different projects, and they have a common database in which everything is being completed. So, and with a new project, this database is being updated. And it is very important because, yeah, we are getting a lot of insights related with different microorganisms and metabolic pathways, and so it should be included. Well, we should have to develop in this project or in the future a common database. Yeah.
No, just mention, so actually one of the activities in BIOSYSMO is to create this database. And actually, one of the problems that we encounter is that there is already a lot of information out there, but collecting it is, some of it is challenging also to collect it, but integrate it in a way that it makes sense, that you can conciliate the data from one source and another. That's even more challenging. There are some resources that are well, for example, with genomic data, some resources that are very well annotated and very well standardized, that they already have this methodology and they follow it, but others are not. Then also, there are some sources that the accessibility of the data is not that well achieved, which actually now also for the European Commission, it's very important that the data follows the fair data management principles to improve this, that if I want to use data that is developed by other groups, that I will have to, I can understand the data without really much problems. And then by SYMBIOREM, we are trying to do that, but it's a bit challenging.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to say something similar as it was just said. I also agree that it would be very good to have a database with all the data in our projects. The problem is we would need a common data management plan with this rich resources, and this would need some extra funding, I think, because each project has its own data management plan, and it's not necessarily said that they use the same principles and the same kind of data. So would need, I think there is some effort needed, and therefore need some funding needed to do this, but it would definitely make sense to combine all this data that are generated.
Yes, I can add to this topic. I think that if we consider, let's say, building up this data set, we should also pay a lot of attention on the metadata, because I think these are probably very important to get some information out of this data, knowing the conditions under which this data were obtained, because we are speaking about bioremediation, we're speaking about different matrices, different environments, so it's not only, let's say, replication rate or extent, but also for the specific conditions under which those data were obtained, which can tell us relevant information to interpret and maybe elaborate on this data. So it's probably very complex things would be very useful, but also probably very complex system to set up in order to make it fully exploitable for the future research.
If I may, I'm probably going to be a little bit understand, but I don't know how useful it is. Everybody's always saying how it's useful to make a common database. The question is, what can you really do with it? You've seen big exercises around the microbiome for wastewater treatment. There's a lot of effort on it, but that's quite a similar system bioremediation is extremely varied in types of pollutants and soils and settings, and there's no convergence of the technology. There's a very complicated exercise for biogas. They just need to do it, and you see like one stage, two stage, isophilic, thermophilic type of pumps, recirculation rates. That metadata is crucial. So I find that at least everywhere people say, yes, we need to share data and make a common database. But I think you have to think very carefully what you're getting yourself into if you're starting to try and setting that up. When you're ready for it, there is no uniform technology, so there's no uniform platform to make your assessments. I don't think you would get further like a core microbiome associated with bioremediation. Can you convince the European Commission to throw 5 or 10 million euros for that? It's risky. So it will have to be defined very well if we want to do that, what you're really going to get out of it. And I'm at this moment skeptical about that.
Yeah, well, another limitation that I can see for this common database is that, for example, it would include only data from lab scale, because we have the pilot scale, this NDA, not agreements with some industries, so it's a kind of also a problem if we want to share this data, which is as you said, yeah, of course, that from ELECTRA, we have some limitations to share the data, and of course, the homogenization of the information is very critical here. But yeah, I think there are many problems here, and I don't have the right solution here in my mind, just like putting the problem here on the table, and that's it.
Sorry, this is quite complicated. Okay, if you look on that, somehow it's not going to be very useful. Like if we are not able to collect and share the data, we are going to know never. We are going to know if it's useful or not. That's again because if you start when you start with your person, you see your skin, you say some things, but not much. When you start getting more data, this is the point that you know if it's useful or not. And perhaps we can grow in this thing to get data, and 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later, we say, doesn't work. Or perhaps we do it and suddenly we'll have a lot of information and we resolve problems with many or with less resources. But if we don't even start, we are not going to know it. So the challenge is that throw something and say yes or not. But the main problem is money. I mean, if we can put our efforts, be as nice as we can, if there is not money, there is not government saying that it's for the useful point for it, it's nothing. We can try to manage, work something out, but we need money, we need support, and this is the thing.
I would like to add something because well, it's true that we need budget to do that, but well, for example, I was this year, I don't know if some of you participate, but was involved in the Soil Biodiversity Conference. So, yeah, well, everything is focused on soil health, but it is not focused on bioremediation or remediation technology. So the problem is also that there is also, I think we can take the example of different EU projects funded in the soil mission that are really focused on creating databases in soil health. Also with that, and also we have some groups working on that. I mean, to cooperate as part of this. But also there is for the commission, there is also this fund related for the soil health. I mean, with the Lucas, that is the platform for soil health evaluation. There is also new projects coming out in which you can take samples and send information. So, and they also analyze all the microbiomes in order to have all this data integrated and making these databases. So I think it's also something that we can take in mind for the future, or to have this as an example that maybe can be useful. I mean, unless, as Lena said, maybe, we don't know if it's going to be useful for all the technologies, but unless for the part of the soil, I think it's very, very useful. Because,
So the next question would be about this very surprising call for the topic, the last one in Cluster 6, about asking explicitly for the use of the GMO. And we had a long discussion today in the frame of the NYMPHE project, and we can realize how powerful is the tools like synthetic biology and so forth. And I would like to know about your opinion about using and maybe later on releasing genetically modified microorganisms or organisms. Good question. Thank you.
So it's my turn. I will take the risky question and try to be as neutral as possible. No, this is of course let's say a delicate topic. The thing is, what we were also discussing today during our meeting, is that for sure technology advancement are now allowing us to, let's say, improve, for example, microbes in such a way that may not be anymore considered genetically modified microorganisms, or at least according to the definition that was given years ago. So for sure, there might be, or there is a need to start a discussion on, let's say, considering these new technological advancements and understanding, let's say, if some improvements, accelerated evolution, or genetic editing is something, let's say, that still we have to look with a lot of attention in terms of genetic release and release the environment. It's very difficult topic to discuss and to address, because
yes, but we commonly accept the use of GMOs for the production of pharmaceuticals, and even food.
And even food. So the way maybe could be to look at the let's say positive outcomes in the use of these organisms, looking at the for example, health or more healthy perspective, in terms of environments and therefore also human health. So this is probably the use of GMOs in the pharmaceutical sector is more accepted, because the final outcome, the final aim is to promote somehow the health of people, to take care of some illness, etc. And this makes more acceptable also the use of these genetically modified organisms. Now we are speaking about pollution, but we are also speaking about the health of the planet, which means health also humans. So we need to understand that the purpose, the final purpose, may be the same, and therefore could be, let's say, also in this case, more acceptable the application of these technologies. Whereas sometimes maybe the acceptance could be limited if we look only at the, let's say, business aspects. So I want to make money to be more efficient, make more money, and therefore this may not, in the perception, justify taking maybe some not risk, but anyway, I don't know, making more difficult to accept maybe also from the public perception perspective, the use of these genetically modified organisms. Try to focus also on the health aspect.
Anybody else on that point? So now, I invite some question from you.
Sorry, can I just answer this point? I think I get what you say, and actually, so you make this parallelism between the use of genetically modified organisms in the pharmaceutical industry and in the environment, but I don't think that the relationship stands. But in the sense that in the case for in the pharmaceutical industry, yes, it is down to scale up the product of a specific therapeutic agent, but then you don't disperse into the environment the genetically modified organisms. I think quality airborne rising up because there is this unknown what happens when you spread into the environment the genetically modified organism, what the effects would be. So I'm not saying that this is not what we should be doing, but I think that it's important to address, and I don't know how it is possible, but it is important to address this challenge. So trying to answer with research this question: what happens if we really need to use a genetically modified organism? What happens when we spread that into the environment? What is the effect? And if on balance, is better. The benefits are better, then yes, definitely let's go there. But I don't think it's so strictly related.
Yes, if I can, sorry, add on just a second, that of course this is an important issue to be addressed, but probably not so easy. But let's say probably also some newer technology may, let's say, remove the let's say more risky elements that could favor the spreading, uncontrolled spreading of the genetically modified organisms in the environment. I'm not an expert actually on synthetic biology, etc. But as far as I understand, that there is, for example, the possibility to modify, but then to remove the element that may cause, let's say, or promote the selection in the environment of the microbe under conditions that are not those under which it should be active, for example, during the bioremediation process. So it's true, we need to take care about this, but probably there is, if I understand correctly, some possibility, let's say, to limit the growth of these organisms only to conditions or for time frames or conditions that are relevant for the bioremediation process, and then how switch them off in such a way that they can be controlled. But I stop here because here it's not my field, so it's not.
So I'm following Mirella a bit, to be honest. Using GMOs for this purpose, to my opinion, has a high Australian rabbit plague risk, and certainly from a regulatory standpoint. And so it's been my lack of knowledge in this field, but I'd like to put forward a question. Is there no, okay, if you can make a microorganism degrade a certain compound that was not possible before, scientifically, that's very interesting. I don't dispute that. You can make it do something that you understand it. But is there now a compound that we cannot remove physicochemically or biologically today that we can use as a justification to say if we do not use a GMO and release it in the environment, we have a big problem on our hands? I don't know. I don't know the other projects, which compounds. But is there a driving force? Is there something there? And I'm not disputing the science, as I'm saying. This is very interesting, infer new capability, great. But is there a product for which we have to do that?
Thank you.
I will carry on with the same GMO debate. So in Pakistan, I was working as an environmental consultant for a company, and our job is to produce humongous amount of extracts from the microorganisms that produce the enzymes. And these exoenzymes in the media are used after autoclaving. So like imagine an industry which is producing tons of waste, and you require to produce like tons of fermented media, and then you have to apply it. So using these genetically modified microorganisms and then modifying them with own enzymes that we know for the degradation, we can produce these enzymes and then utilize this enzymatic cocktail to remove the contaminants.
That's different. Now you're not releasing a GMO, and it's a very different regulation. I mean, it's just the same as putting pesticides which are chemically produced on the land. That is something different than putting a live organism in the environment with the capacity to reproduce. And so, for what specific product? What is now the driver to say it's important that we do this? And the goal has to be clear. If you want to convince the world to release something, which product? Certainly not PFAS. You just buy Magnelli titanium electrodes, you'll put in more energy, but the PFAS is gone, no problem. You can do it. So then there's no driver. Okay, it costs a lot of energy. That's not nice, but you can do it. So why would you then put a GMO to do PFAS? Because you lose just less energy? That's not enough justification.
I have my time. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to challenge the coordinators? So we'll take maximum two questions.
Hello, I will like to ask you something about a tricky point, which is legislation, but not about GMO, which is a really interesting point. But for example, in Europe, we have every country has its own legislation. For example, finding an optimal microorganism maybe could not be used in another country just because it's not acceptable, things like that. So my question is that this kind of projects, in which extent it can help the EU regulation, for example, just to create useful rules that for all of us, I mean, useful or efficient. Because there is always a lack of communication between researchers and the both research making the laws, which at the end is not usually useful. Thank you. Once.
So what's the challenging especially?
I only can answer it from my project to MIBIREM. We have the common forum in the not in the project, but we have the project that we communicate to the common forum. The common forum is a platform of the European environmental agencies. And these are the agencies that are preparing the material for the politicians to make the laws. So our idea is to present them our results. And so they can do exactly this work, what you asked for, to feed something to the European Parliament, so it can end with these new laws that are valid for all Europe. But this is a very long process. It even takes within Austria years until something happens. So at the EU level, it will take, yeah, at least 1 decade, I would say, if not longer. So this takes really. So there are, of course, we try to communicate and try to do this, but it simply takes a lot of time. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for your question. Actually, it makes me think about that case study that we have in ECLAR. You're right, the regulation in every country is different. For example, we're using the technology BER in the UK, but the UK regulation, it just stops on the site, but outside the site, they don't care. So this is a regulation that they have there. And as you say, it's like a pessimistic answer, that it's not like a universal thing and it's going to work everywhere. And I think it's not us in this level to work with that. I agree with Thomas. It's like more like a policies in the European Union to try to homogenize these technologies.
We also in our project we have this brief for the Christian Papa, and also I know that there are some goals in bio-related things to try to produce data policy brief for the authorities in order to, let's say that we all working on it, but similarly to the device, this is going to take even more time. I mean, we try and do our best, but we need time to convince politicians that this works, and in order to work even better, we have to make some adjustments to the law.
Well, yeah, I think, well, also we have also activities working on this part, but it's also almost difficult to work on that or on the side. But I think I was thinking now that well, something that I see that it was good of this workshop and joining of this project is also that one of the meetings we proposed to have that kind of ambassadors from each of the projects. And we were selecting different topics, and this one, it could be one of the topics that we can select to, to select which are the main persons in the different projects that can work together on how to homogenize or organize this part. I think it's also, yeah, it's true that we were mainly focused on the technologies, like who is working in electrochemistry, so then put it together. But that is also a very good thing that maybe we can put there in order to select in which even project was working on that and how can we work together.
Thank you. So I take another question from the Fabio.
Thank you very much. Another question about comment, if I go for comment. In particular, starting from the first, the answers that you provided to the first question, but the comment is also useful for the other two questions that you addressed. So my impression is, yes, we need to continue running research and also innovation, which is another story. Because we have different environments to deal with. We have new chemicals entry, new pollution every years. We have new emergencies, and so on and so on. We have innovation coming out, so we have improved technology. So we have to continue for sure. But I'm also sure that we are duplicating sometimes what we are doing. And so I think it's the time for a good assessment. Yes, we can cooperate. You can continue keeping all these projects together, linked, etc. But we need something more. Maybe the Commission is connected with us. We need probably one initiative coming from the Commission addressed to really assess carefully what came out from the different projects, European projects, large projects that has been performed and implemented within the last 10 years, 15 years. 10 years could be enough. In FP7, we had that different opportunities. And then Horizon 2020, at the beginning, there were no opportunities for bioremediation. Now they are coming back. And not only for remediating, but also for regenerating, not for restoring only. We need to regenerate soil, water system, and so on and so on. So I think it's the time to run a careful assessment of what has been produced so far. This is very important because, as Cornel mentioned, we need to interconnect bio with chemical physical. Yes, but you need to make sure what has been done so far on many different sites by using different approaches. We need to have an idea of what came out for interconnecting in a more efficient way with the other techniques. And even more importantly, for transferring the knowledge from pilot scale when we reach to the larger full scale. We need to assess what has been done so far. This is my personal feeling. I think that the Commission should think on this. We go on the Commission and do it. You can stay together here, meet every 6 months, but it's never enough. And
Thanks, you. I think we had the last question from Joa.
I would like to know if you, as I don't know, biotechnologist, microbiologist, do you think that now or maybe in the future we will have the instruments to map in some way that kind of spread the Madame was speaking about of the microorganism modified, genetically modified organism in the environment. Because what I think that is that for now, we have, when you use an organism, a modified organism in an environment, if you are lucky, it survives sometimes, and he makes his job. A lot of time happens that it doesn't survive the time that you need to do that. So I think that the only point that could be, a topic to consider is maybe, transference of genes, for example, in the soil or in the water, gene transfer. So, or a mechanism that helps the genes to go to a kind of organism to another. So the question is, do you think that we have now or in the future instruments to map this with metagenomics, with through PCR, with specific markers? Because I know that for now, nobody has done this kind of works. Maybe this is a good idea for a big, just to demonstrate to the Commission or to the countries, to the policymaker that the spread of the genetic modified organism in the environment is not something to be so afraid, to be so scared, because I think it's probably doesn't.
I don't, we don't have a microphone, but in microbial ecology, at least years ago, it was always the assumption that everything is everywhere, just where you started from, and if you have a point with the faster. I think with the GMO, you will have to assume that it can be everywhere. You just have to look at, with the GMO, you have to work on the assumption that it can be everywhere. I don't think it's easy to just think of a magic tool to see where they are.
unless Greg Panther wants to get another boat and go sampling around the world to see a bit of spots. I think you have to realize, if you realize something, release something, that it can be everywhere, certainly in microorganism. It may take time through horizontal gene transfer and the like, but you have to assume that it goes everywhere. This is where the justification is essential. If you modify the ecosystem by adding something, you have to have a strong driver. But once you release it, you have to start from the principle that it's like PFAS, it's everywhere.
So I would like to thank the panel of the coordinator.
Starting from what Fabio said, that on one side you've got the research, on the other side you've got the innovation. Most of you dealt for their own life or will be for their own life on the research side. I work for the European Innovation Council. Just a quick question. I think you are all aware of the ERC, European Research Council. I don't know how many of you are aware that since April 2021, starting from an analysis performed by President Barroso in 2008, and then thanks to the development of Commissioner Muttenz, it has been set up in April 2021, the European Innovation Council. The reason it's quite ambitious and it's easy to be described. These big studies, assessments of where the public, our taxpayers' money was put inside research was done. This assessment said in 2008, if you did €1 as a scientist worldwide, you will get the highest impact from the scientific point of view, from the European. And the KPIs mostly was linked to papers and capability to have a scientific impact. But then it was done another study and said, if you give €1 to the scientist worldwide, and you look at the socio-economic impact, so jobs creation, money development, European are no more the best scientific entrepreneurs. Based on this assumption, EIC has been set up to develop, in a way, a program. I don't know, just as a stupid question, may kindly ask all of you to raise the hands who knows the work program of EIC. Okay, so not many of you knows this kind of projects, Pathfinder Transition Accelerator, right? Yeah, not so many. Okay. So this is the EIC, okay? You are all aware, as I said before, this somewhere I should have a pointer. No. This one?
It's the top.
Okay, yeah. This one is the ERC, okay? It's 22 billion euros for 7 years. You know, Commission always speak about billions, roughly. And this is the EIC. We have got 10.5 billion euros. That means 1.5 more or less billion euros each year we invest. And we invested in 3 funding schemes. Pathfinder Transition Accelerator. We like to call ourselves the one-stop shop hands-on agency, a very long name. What does it mean? It means that we are one of the few, the only agency in the Commission that is allowed to fund the whole innovation journey. What does it mean, innovation journey? Means that you start from an idea and you bring it to its socio-economic impact. It means you create jobs and you make money out of it. You make a product. There are many different definitions that most of the Europeans and also most of other countries try a little bit to merge, to mix when you speak about the proof of principle or proof of concept, when you speak about a prototype, when you speak about a product, when you speak about exploitation, and when you speak about commercialization. I come from your world, okay? I worked as a scientific officer, as a scientist. I work as a corporate admin manager, as a startupper. I wrote a lot of proposals. So I know that nowadays ChatGPT is wonderful. You can write a research proposal in a few seconds, maybe a few hours. Before it took a few weeks. The problem is that it will be evaluated, luckily, not by a ChatGPT, but by a woman or a man. And so you need to attract them when you write it. And most of the evaluators still in the Commission are, let me say, a little bit very well aware of the traditional projects. In EIC, we would like to see a little bit something different, okay? What does it mean different? It means that the exploitation plan is not, once again, a ChatGPT, but is something that is real. When I was listening a few seconds ago, the wonderful discussion I'm sorry, I'm not an expert of this issue, but I felt that something was missing. When we speak about, I hope I've got a slide. I don't know, let me see. Maybe, no, I do not have a slide, so you will have to trust in my words. So when we speak about EIC, there's a prerequisite that is crucial if you ever want to apply. We only fund deep technology. There's a problem. It does not exist a scientific definition of deep technologies. To make it easy, deep technologies is something that comes out from a scientific discovery, okay? So the background has to be scientific. The development closer to the market is high risk. You need a lot of money to make it happen. And you have got two very fundamental prerequisites in deep tech. The first one is that 99% of deep tech are hardware. And if the software is embedded. So normally deep tech is not digital, pure digital. The second one is that it has to be developed by a multidisciplinary ecosystemic approach. What I heard before in the discussion, what was missing was this ecosystemic approach. You are a wonderful community of multidisciplinary scientists, biologists, physicists, chemists, engineers. But once again, the policymakers are not on the other side of the universe. Okay? They are women and men. You can contact them. If you want to develop the policies for the GMO, for the bioremediation and so on, you need to start considering that you do not only need in your projects wonderful scientists, but you also need someone that speaks the languages of the policymakers. Innovation as well as research is made of different languages. You cannot expect an entrepreneur to be a pure scientist. There are a lot of intermediate situations, and the only common thing, we are human beings, are the language. And so if you ever apply to the EIC calls, my suggestion is have a look at considering this ecosystemic approach. It means considering as much as possible an holistic approach of what you are going to write. And so based on this one, the idea of the EIC is, as I said before, one-stop shop, because as you see here, we fund projects to make the long story short. Pathfinder goes from TRL 1 to 3, transition from TRL 4 to 6, accelerator from TRL 6 up, okay? Transition, Pathfinder and transition are open to partnership. We give 100% grants. Pathfinder up to 4 million euros, transition up to 2.5 million euros. Pathfinder is open to everybody, to all the kind of deep tech ideas. Transition, it has got a prerequisite. The idea is to be developed in some specific calls, or at least in one Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe funding project. All the details, obviously, you can find it in the EIC work program. Every year, part of my job is to write the work program. I hope it's quite well written, but that's the Bible when you apply to us. And then the accelerator. The accelerator is the only call in the European Commission that funds more beneficial, but only SMEs. Okay? And what is the difference? Pathfinder and transition give grants. Accelerator give grants up to 2.5 million euros, 70%. But there's the first novelty. The first novelty is that European Commission decided in 2020 to set up a venture capitalist fund. May I kindly ask everybody to raise his hands who knows what the venture capitalist is? There are not so many people. Okay. The venture capitalist is a financial institution where that needs to be funded by mainly private money, okay, also public money, but the idea is that it invests in ventures. That means high risk, high reward companies. Venture capitalist is one, maybe the highest and the biggest amount of money to develop deep technologies worldwide is given by venture capitalists, okay? You want concrete examples, real examples. Google would not exist without venture capitalists. Apple would not exist without venture capitalists. STM Microelectronics and ASML could also exist. But if you look at Meta, Facebook, if you look at Elon Musk, Galaxy, they would not exist. So they are financial institutions exactly devoted to invest in high risk, high reward companies. And the European Commission decided, due to the fact that European VC market was not very well developed and is still not very well developed, to ask the taxpayers, so all of us, to set up a European Commission venture capitalist fund. This is called EIC fund. So this means that when we fund the companies can also ask the European Commission to buy, to own its stakes. Okay, and this obviously allows you to get, as an SME, more private investors as venture capitalists, because they know that normally, luckily, hopefully, European Commission shouldn't invest in, let me say, wasted companies, okay, not good companies. Okay, this is the first part of my talk. It took me 9 minutes. They asked me to speak 10, so the most relevant thing for you will take 2 seconds. In EIC, the work program of Pathfinder Transition Accelerator has got open calls, that means no topic prescription, but also challenge calls. That means top-down approach, where there are challenges that all the European community of innovators has to apply for. And one of the challenges that was asked me to introduce by Philippe and Fabio is the one on environmental intelligence. So I am one of the 10 program managers. European Innovation Council is called hands-on agency because we do not only provide money, but we work with the projects to facilitate the innovation journey, to bring their idea from the lab to the farm. We do this by 2 main ways. One is we give the money to our beneficiary to work with external experts, supporting them in what we call business acceleration services. And the second one is that there are 10 strange women and men called program managers that has got the responsibility to drive the projects as much as possible, as fast as possible to the market, but has also got the responsibility to speak with all the community, to identify challenges, and then to propose the challenges to the member states. If these challenges are approved, they are part of the EIC work program. To make the long story short, with my colleagues, we proposed environmental intelligence. It was approved, and now there are, you can look the number here. I don't remember exactly how many million euros. There are 20 million euros devoted with these deadlines to projects that want to scale up from proof of principle up to prototype phase. So this is the technical goal of the transition, but there is also, let me say, the exploitation part of the transition. That means that we give you the money to identify how you want to make money out of the scientific discoveries that you develop from TRL3 to TRL6. So to bring contemporary the prototype phase, but also to identify if you want to license your know-how, if you want to sell your know-how, if you want to set up a small medium enterprise, or to collaborate with a corporate, for example, in scaling up your technology. And so we decided, as the Commission approved, to have the topic of environmental intelligence. Environmental intelligence, there should be 1 slide. You see, I didn't understand, I only had to speak 10 minutes, but we had a very long discussion. And so that's in short environmental intelligence. Environmental intelligence is, I collect data, ex situ or in situ data. Tomorrow it will start the bioremediation conference. So in this case, let me say I collect data about a polluted site. Okay, that's the first part, data collection. Normally it's done via sensing. It can be in situ, sensors on the ground, in the water, on the air, or ex situ by mapping via satellite. That's the first part of environmental intelligence. The second one is I use this data. I make the part of the data analysis, of the data science. I understand that in a certain environment, there is a pollution of cadmium, for example, and I understand why and where it is spread and which are the consequences potential for the biodiversity. That's the second part of data analysis. Then there is the third part, that is the remediation. What do I do? How can I solve the issue that the human man or someone else has set up? The 3 things together is part of a scientific new, let me say, reasonably new branch that is environmental intelligence. And on this side, we, as the European Innovation Council, already evaluated a few weeks ago the first proposal that we received. And I think that in this conference, having been really happy today to listen to a lot of nice projects, I think that some of you could consider to apply. So I spoke 13 minutes. I still have a lot of things to say in 2 minutes about what are my ideas of what I heard today in terms of connecting this to the transition. But in the meantime, there is someone that has got a question on what I said up to now. There are doubts, as I've been clear, doubts. I don't know if you understood or you've completely misunderstood, but there are no. So, so just to give some examples, the first one is transition. As I said, you have to scale up your technology from your lab to the prototype in the real environmental conditions. One of the questions I would like to ask to all the communities, if you ever consider as bioremediation community to obviously standardize, I was really positively impressed by one of the projects that showed that they are trying to set up a common handbook on how to make how to sample, how to characterize some kind of samples. And my question is, are you aware that the Commission is funding, has funded and will fund OITB, that are open innovation testbed facilities? That means these are facilities spread around Europe to which the European Commission gives the money to allow you to set up, once again, distributed facility to help scientists to accelerate the piloting of their technology. This doesn't, let me say, fall as rates from the air, but you have to discuss, to make lobby with the Commission and to explain why your community needs this kind of open innovation testbed. But that could be an opportunity for the community to consider if this could be relevant. The second one, you spoke about the authorization procedure, the policies, and I think that you are all aware that the European Commission is collecting 27 member states, 27 normatives. You cannot expect, in my humble opinion, I'm not an expert of policy, unfortunately, but I would never expect that it will be the Commission to collect the 27 member states' rules on remediation and to get out with one proposal. You need to make lobby in your countries, around countries, to set up groups. Maybe you are already doing this, and then to push in the direction of the Commission, of the Parliament, to say, hey guys, this is what is needed, and these are the advantages. And to make this for sure, you need to standardize all the procedure and all the advantages that your technology will give. Last but not least, for sure, you need to look at the side. Fabio at the end said, we are going in the direction of regenerating the soil, not only remediating. And so I think that you need to strongly consider which is the business model of your technology. Why companies should invest in your technology? Because what I've seen today are wonderful researches, but to scale up them, you need more money, a lot of money, in my opinion. I bankrupted, unfortunately, in my life, 2 companies. I know how much money is needed, and normally I was never able to fundraise it, but my suggestion is take a look at this possibility to look at the business model. And for sure, some of you discussed about the safe and sustainability design. These are one of the requirements that you will have to look for when once again scaling up and eventually applying to the transition. And to conclude, my strong suggestion is make a very detailed analysis and mapping of the stakeholders that you want to be involved in your bioremediation technologies. It's not easy to make a stakeholder mapping, but I think you can do it. Once you do it, try really to increase as much as possible these kind of meetings, inviting all the stakeholders at these kind of meetings, because this is where the innovation starts, when there is a community and the technology and the know-how can be developed. Thank you.